Today I'm going to talk about something that has been in my mind for quite a while. In a recent video I had discussed it just briefly, but I wanted to do an entire video about the subject because I know that many people are struggling today. And that is talking about the education system that we have in place in Canada, the US, UK, and other places around the world. Is the education system sufficient to provide people with a means of earning a good income? This is going to be opinionated, but I will be including some facts, and I want you to know that what you'll hear from me today, it's my own opinion, okay? People may disagree with me, but I'm here to share what I've been learning, what I've been seeing, talking to people all around the world. So generally the way it works is that an individual will go to school, they then go to post-secondary education, perhaps college or university, all the while taking on debt, incurring that debt, with the knowledge that they will be able to pay it back because they are getting this post-secondary education and they will get into a job that will provide them a good salary, and so they will be able to pay back that debt in no time. What we've been finding over the past few years is that that isn't the case. One of the reasons why this has been happening, basically in this more recent generation, is that the degrees, the diplomas, the education that people have been getting has been diluted, simply because everybody these days seems to have some sort of paper up on the wall. And there's nothing wrong with that. I really don't see a problem with somebody who wants to go to school for any period of time to learn what they're interested in and get educated, get that paper up on the wall, and then get a job. Now, the issue that I have with this is that a lot of people incur way too much debt during this period of time. So here they are going to school, working hard, working part-time to try and make ends meet throughout this period of time. They finally graduate, and then they can't get a job. Then what? Then they have a lot of debt and they can't get a good job. So they work at a job they could have without even having that education. And how many people do you know, maybe you're one of them, that thought to themselves, I'm going to go to school, I'm going to get a great job, I'm going to be able to do what I need, buy a house, this and that. Unfortunately, they couldn't get that good job, so they just took any job just for now. But it was temporary. It was just a temporary job, maybe for 6 months, maybe for a year, get some experience, and then move on to something better. And then the year happened, and then 2 years happened, and 10 years happened, and they got comfortable. So they stayed in that job. So the education, if they had any, wasn't important to begin with because it didn't help them in their whole goal, which was to get a higher paying job, to get, the job that they personally desired. And so this is the fault with the education itself. It doesn't prepare you, and of course it doesn't guarantee you anything. So you are stuck. You're going to be completely stuck if you put all your time and energy into something like this education system. And not to mention the fact that we know as a fact, you can read The Deliberate Dumbing Down of America by Charlotte Thompson Iserby. Excellent book that really breaks it down, that it isn't designed to help you out. In fact, it's designed to make you a slave. That is the entire purpose. They want a workforce of robots. And if they can't get the real robots, they will program people to be just like robots. Sitting there in front of their computer screens, in their factories, everyone's a factory worker in some sort of way, turning knobs or typing into a computer or doing meaningless tasks day in and day out. That's basically the workforce. But hey, you got to pay your bills, so you got to get a job. right? That's the way this system is designed. But it is the education system, starting from there, making sure that you are following in a straight line. Make sure that you don't go and draw out of the lines. Make sure that we punish people who don't like to follow a certain set of rules that are arbitrary, that are meaningless. And then you get into the workforce and the exact same thing happens. If you don't follow the orders of your superior in exactly the fashion that they desire, maybe they don't like the way you look, maybe they don't like something about you, and they decide, are you going to get that bonus this year? Are you going to get that raise this year? Maybe yes, maybe no. It's all on their decision. So of course you see what happens in corporations as individuals try to work their way up the ladder. They step on people, push them down. You see that. If you've worked in a big corporation before, you can see how low people will go. It's quite sad. And so this is the problem with all of these big corporations. And that's where most of the people are employed. If you're in a big bank, a financial company, you rarely see it. You see how people act. And a lot of people, the way that they get into these financial firms, or any big company anyway, they may work themselves from the bottom. A lot of these people are educated. They may have gone to school for, let's say, a bachelor's degree, a basic degree. They're in there 3-4 years, and they incur quite a bit of debt during that period of time, and then they get a job. They get the lowest paying job possible. Okay, so let's just say at one of these companies, maybe they're making $30,000, maybe even $40,000 a year. They have that debt there, they have their rent, or maybe a mortgage or what have you. And of course, it's not enough in this day and age. If you're working in a city that has a big financial firm, chances are you're also paying very high rates of rent, every food is expensive, everything else. So that $30,000, $40,000 income really isn't paying the bills, especially, depending on your situation. If you have a husband or wife or children or everything else, you know how expensive things can be. And so we have a big problem, because these people, so they've gotten in at this entry level, they didn't even need that education to get in there. They didn't need much of that experience or anything. It's just an entry-level position, but that's all they can get, so that's what they took. So what is it then, the purpose of this education that we've been getting? They went to a bachelor's degree of science. They're working there as some sort of back office individual. It's a big group of these people. What does that do for us? Of course, it does nothing. You may feel good, and again, I want to reiterate that if you're in that position, there's nothing wrong with that at all. But what I see is people have these ideals, people have these goals that they set up for themselves, thinking, okay, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, 10 years from now, I'm going to be in this position, and so on. They're going to work their way through the corporate ladder, they're going to earn their income. I think that this is a failed policy, and we are seeing that happening today. I just read an article that really pushed me over the edge to do this video, and it was about American Airlines, and how so many of these people working for this company, a big institution, right? That they are on food stamps, that they literally can't afford. They have to give blood plasma twice a week in order to be able to feed their family. Think about that. Think about that for a second. What does that tell us about where we are heading? That you can't work for a major company anymore and be able to pay all your bills. 40, 50 years ago, that was very good. You got into a good big company, you'd be set. You would do well, you get maybe a pension, everything was looking great. Today, that's not the case anymore. And if you're relying on that, this is a big problem for the future. We cannot have this reliance on, I'll get a big corporate job and I'll do fine, right? Because I can work my way up the ladder, pensions, I'll be able to save my money, invest in a retirement account, and I'll be able to, take from that as I retire. We're seeing that now. We're seeing what's happening with the pension funds. Look at Sears as an example. Look at all the different CalPERS saying that they have to cut from people's pensions. Look at what's happening with the threat of the stock markets. This is not a good sign. All the while, you have people just pouring their money, their time, their energy into the education system. So I'll say this. If you want to become a surgeon, if you want to become something that's highly skilled, You're going to have to go to school. You're going to have to go to school for a long time. And that would be great to know that somebody had gone to school for a long period of time if, somebody needs some surgery or something. Absolutely, you want that. And there are different trades, different skills that people have to go to. And they go to some sort of education and they learn that skill and they're able to provide services for other people. That's great. But when you look at the general, let's say what most people are getting themselves into, it's not really valid anymore. It doesn't have any validity, and you can see that for yourself today. A lot of educated people and not a lot of, smarts, true intelligence, real intelligence. People need to be able to create their own way. Create your own way. Provide a service to somebody else. And you will be able to provide your own sources of income. What are your talents? What are your skills? What are you really able to provide? Think of that and try and do that right now on the side. If you are there working a 9-to-5 job, that's fine. Do your 9-to-5 job, but start thinking of other ways to be able to earn some income. There are an infinite amount of ways that you can earn an income today, especially this day and age, where you can do so over the internet. Maybe you're not interested in that, that's a different story. But a lot of kids that are coming out today, they're constantly on their phones, they're at the internet, they know exactly how to manipulate it, and they have an advantage. But yet, they are being pushed into the same direction as everybody else. Go to school, get whatever degree, doesn't matter, because that's just good stuff and you'll do fine. No. We are here in 2018. I'm telling you that is not the case. If you want to go into some highly specialized field, you need to go to a particular school for that. Do it. That's great. But if you're just going to school because you think that you have to be able to provide some sort of income for yourself, it probably isn't a good idea. I don't want to tell anybody what to do. We need to figure that out for yourself. But I'm just looking at this really objectively in the way that I see it. I see a lot of educated people and they just don't even use that education. Their job that they're currently in did not require that education. They incurred the debt, they wasted the time, and all the while they've thought to themselves, I'll move on later, and then they're stuck. But instead, if you took that time today, took that effort today, and tried to build something today, and you always had to build that, you always push yourself day in, day out, you're going to make it. You're going to make it. That's all for this video. If you found it informative, please give me a thumbs up. And it's different than what I normally get into, but I hope you appreciated it. Check out my stuff at themoneygps.com. I got a free e-course. I've got all kinds of free information there. Check it out, themoneygps.com. Take care.